Honorable MIC Sri Shobhandev Chattopadhyay, Sri Shutirtha Bhattacharya IAS, Professor Shobhik Bhattacharya, a very distinguished audience in front of me, ladies and gentlemen. I am having a very bad cold, so maybe my voice will be a little bit down. Anyway, at the very outset, I want to say that I am very honored to be here today, and I convey my most sincere thanks to the organizers for inviting me in this program. While saying that, I would like to first start in a different note, that they have invited me to deliver a speech in the inaugural session as a special guest. Now here I would like to make a point that since August 2015, I am now typically invited to deliver this sort of special guest lecture or something in the inaugural session. Before that, I was always invited to deliver technical talks, like all the presentations that I was seeing in the program. So maybe now people think that this fellow doesn't work anything. He is no longer in academics, so maybe I am called only for the inaugural session. So I am not going to make a very big talk because I was looking at my watch. We are running more than 1 hour behind the schedule. So I will like to share only a few thoughts that comes to my mind. First of all, whenever something or some technology people say green, we are always a very enthusiastic lot about that. But I saw an advertisement in the archives of some laboratory which was very interesting. That was long time back when the first automobile was introduced on the street. And that advertisement was very interesting. Before such motorized automobiles, all the carts were horse-driven. And when these horses used to drive those cars, and they create a lot of shit, and the streets were very dirty because of horse shit and others. And therefore, when the automobiles came, the advertisement ran that the clean technology, the clean car. Now today I don't have to tell you that how clean the automobile is. So therefore, when we take about any technology today and we talk that this is the greenest, we have to be a little bit careful. We should not jump into anything, but let me tell you, I am not against any particular technology or any particular devices. But we have to be a little bit careful when we say that this is the greenest. Today, in the world, we are always talking about introducing renewables in the system. I have had some experience in seeing some of the advanced country systems where renewables have been introduced. I give you one example, what has happened in one particular case. Particularly, these are the oversights we don't take into account. You all know this old, that story that military people were marching on a bridge, and then there was some resonance of that march and the bridge collapsed. Now, there is a simile in the electrical grid. When we have an electrical grid, depending on my generator's load, etc., we call it the electrical topology, because resistance, inductance, capacitances are all distributed in the system. Then we always have what is called the natural frequency of oscillation of the system. This natural frequency of oscillation of our power grid is typically of the order of 500 to 600 Hertz. And our power frequency being 50 Hertz and predominant harmonics being 3rd, 5th, and 7th. So the highest frequency of the 7th harmonics is about 350 Hertz. So our natural frequency of oscillation, typically of power grid being 500 to 600 Hertz, is above that range. What happened in one particular case is that they started putting renewables everywhere, here and wind, here and biomass, here these, that, etc. But remember that whenever you are putting this at different nodes of the whatever system, you are changing the topology of the entire power system. And in that particular case, what happened, the natural frequency of oscillation came down from 500 to 350 hertz, which is the seventh harmonic frequency of our power frequency. And one fine morning, there was a resonance in that system, and the system totally collapsed. Now, this is something we, the engineers, have to think about when we say something and do straight away without considering some other effects. This is one experience that I can tell you. The second one is that I have seen a village in another big advanced countries where I went to a farmhouse and I saw a very interesting thing. That farmhouse, all the roofs were having solar panels. There was a wind generator in that farmhouse, as well as that was a farmhouse containing cattle, so they were having a biomass generator also. So there were a tremendous amount of power being generated by that particular farmhouse. And later on, I was told that that village, most of the houses were having solar. So therefore, effectively, all the houses are generators. Now, the difficulty that came in that particular case is that normally our distribution system, the power flow is one directional. In transmission is power flow not necessarily one directional, but distribution it is typically, or rather mostly one directional. Now what happens in that cases is that the power flow is no longer one directional. That means it is no longer from the line to the house. It could be from the house to the line. And then the question comes is, with all the instrumentation and whatever protection system that we are having in this entire system, is it going to work properly? So that was a great challenge that they were facing. I'm not sure how they solved it, but I would like to put forward that when we bring in all those technologies, which are of course very green and others, but they are making a lot of other impact on the system, where the system security and stability becomes an issue, please, we have to consider that. And the final point I would like to make is that what about the existing asset? Now, we cannot throw away all our existing asset. A lot of money has been invested. And tomorrow, if somebody says this existing asset is 40 years or 50 years of old, so you need to replace them. We don't have that money. No power company has that money to replace all those existing assets. So therefore, there is a need that we have to run the existing asset efficiently and environmental friendly condition. Are we doing that? There is an immense need here today because, as you all know, in India, the growth of power sector was in 70s. And then on it started. So most of the power infrastructure is now very much aging. It is about 42-year-old. So therefore, are we doing enough for the monitoring of this sort of power infrastructure? I am afraid not. So there is a need of technology development of such monitoring, particularly non-invasive monitoring. For example, our body, when the doctor stays, they don't always puncture our body and test. They do all sorts of tests by which externally they find out what is the fault. So are we developing good amount of technology for that? I am afraid not. So there is another issue where our power engineers have to consider or think deeply into that. And of course, I would say invest money as well as manpower in that respect so that the existing power infrastructure also works in a green way. Once again, my sincere thanks to all who have invited me, and I wish this program, and I have seen the program, wonderful talks scheduled the whole day. I'm sure that you are going to have a very, very thought-provoking day today. Thank you.